The year was 2098, and Earth stood on the edge of a new era. Humanity had finally united under one banner, the Unified Human Coalition, UHC. For decades, nations had fought among themselves over resources, land, and power. But as the planet's natural reserves dwindled and the population soared to unimaginable heights, survival became the only goal. Wars ended not because of peace, but because there was no choice left. Together, humanity worked toward one dream, reaching the stars. But dreams often come with nightmares. It began on a quiet Thursday morning. The sun rose lazily over Earth, casting golden light across its cities and oceans. In orbit, satellites monitored space for asteroids, solar flares, or anything that might threaten the fragile blue world below. What they found instead sent shockwaves through every corner of the planet. A massive fleet of alien ships appeared at the edge of the Sol system. They were enormous, some larger than small moons, and their sleek, metallic designs glinted ominously in the sunlight. The ships moved silently, exuding an aura of menace that made even the most hardened scientists shiver. It wasn't long before a transmission reached Earth. On screens around the globe, an image flickered to life. A towering figure filled the display, a being clad in shimmering obsidian armor, with glowing red eyes that seemed to pierce through the screen itself. His voice boomed like thunder, deep and resonant, shaking listeners to their core. "Humans," he said, his tone cold and commanding. "I am General Vorthax of the Zyran Dominion. Your species has trespassed into our territory. You have two options: surrender your planet and accept our rule, or face annihilation. My fleet consists of 1,000,000 soldiers, each more powerful than anything you can muster." The message repeated endlessly, broadcasting across all frequencies. Panic erupted worldwide. People fled streets, governments scrambled to respond, and militaries mobilized whatever forces they could. Fear gripped the hearts of billions. Who were these aliens? What did they want? And how could humanity possibly fight back? Amid the chaos, Captain Alara Quinn stood calmly in the UHC's Central Command Center. She was a striking woman in her late 30s, with sharp features, piercing green eyes, and short auburn hair. Her reputation preceded her. She was known as one of the finest military strategists alive, having led countless successful campaigns during humanity's darkest days. Yet today, she faced her greatest challenge yet. Quinn watched the broadcast replay on a large monitor, her expression unreadable. Around her, officers shouted orders, technicians typed furiously at their consoles, and politicians argued loudly about what to do next. Everyone looked to her for answers, though none dared interrupt her silence. Finally, after several tense minutes, Quinn spoke. Her voice cut through the noise like a knife. "Enough." The room fell silent. All eyes turned to her. "This isn't the time for panic," she continued, her tone firm but steady. "We faced impossible odds before, and we've survived. This is no different." She stepped closer to the monitor, showing General Vorthax's imposing figure. "He thinks he can intimidate us. He thinks his numbers will break us. But he doesn't understand who we are." She turned to face the assembled leaders. "Humanity isn't defined by our weapons or our technology. We're defined by our will to survive. If this, General Vorthax, wants a fight, then we'll give him one. And if he says he has 1,000,000 soldiers..." She paused, a faint smile playing on her lips. "Then, excellent. I have 1,000,000 targets." Her words ignited a spark of hope in the room. Officers straightened, politicians nodded, and even the technicians seemed to work faster. Quinn's confidence was contagious, and for the first time since the alien fleet arrived, people believed they might actually stand a chance. Over the next few hours, Quinn took charge of humanity's response. She ordered every available ship, military or civilian, to prepare for combat. Mining vessels were retrofitted with crude weapons. Cargo haulers transformed into mobile fortresses, and even passenger shuttles armed with scavenged parts. Every resource mattered, no matter how small. Meanwhile, AI systems analyzed footage of the alien fleet, searching for weaknesses. Early reports suggested the Zyrans relied heavily on coordinated attacks, using advanced algorithms to synchronize their movements. Their technology far surpassed anything humanity possessed, but Quinn noticed something crucial. Their formations lacked flexibility. They operated like machines, predictable and rigid. "That's our opening," Quinn told her team. "They're strong, yes, but they're not adaptable. We'll use that against them." As preparations continued, the alien fleet began advancing toward Earth. Their pace was deliberate, almost leisurely, as if they knew humanity couldn't escape. Reports poured in from outlying colonies and observation posts. Entire settlements vanished overnight, consumed by the invaders. Refugees flooded into major cities, desperate for safety. The scale of destruction was staggering, but it only strengthened Quinn's resolve. At dawn the following day, Quinn addressed the entire planet via live broadcast. Standing before a backdrop of Earth's spinning globe, she spoke directly to the people. "To the citizens of Earth," she began, her voice clear and unwavering. "Today, we face a threat unlike any other. An enemy from beyond the stars has come to claim our home. They boast of their strength, their numbers, their superiority. But let me tell you something. They underestimate us. They don't know what it means to be human." She leaned forward slightly, her gaze intense. "General Vorthax claims to have 1,000,000 soldiers. Well, I say excellent, because now I have 1,000,000 targets. Every man, woman, and child on this planet will rise up. Every ship, every weapon, every ounce of courage, will throw it all at them until they regret ever setting foot in our system." The crowd erupted in cheers. Across the globe, people rallied behind Quinn's words. Factories churned out ammunition, volunteers signed up for duty, and families prepared makeshift defenses. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival, it was fighting for its soul. Hours later, the first wave of alien scouts entered Earth's orbit. They moved cautiously, probing for resistance. Quinn ordered her forces to hold back, letting the invaders grow complacent. When they finally attacked, humanity struck back with everything they had. The battle raged fiercely, lighting up the skies with explosions and streaks of laser fire. Though outnumbered and outgunned, humanity fought with ferocity born of desperation. Captain Alara Quinn watched the conflict unfold from the bridge of her flagship, the Eclipse. Explosions lit up the viewport as human ships darted between the lumbering alien vessels, firing wildly. Despite the odds, they managed to inflict damage, forcing the scouts to retreat temporarily. It was a small victory, but it proved something vital. Humanity could fight back as the dust settled. Quinn allowed herself a brief moment of reflection. The road ahead would be long and brutal, filled with loss and sacrifice. But for now, humanity had taken its first step toward survival. And as long as she drew breath, Captain Alara Quinn would ensure they kept fighting for their home, for their future, and for the right to exist in the distance. The alien fleet loomed closer, undeterred by the skirmish. General Vorthax's voice echoed in Quinn's mind, promising annihilation. But she smiled grimly, knowing one truth above all others. Humanity wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. The alien fleet loomed closer, casting a shadow of fear over Earth. General Vorthax's words still rang in the ears of humanity. "I have 1,000,000 soldiers." The sheer scale of the enemy force was overwhelming. Their ships were massive, their weapons advanced, and their numbers endless. Yet, amidst the panic and despair, Captain Alara Quinn remained steadfast. She knew that brute strength alone wouldn't win this war. Humanity had to rely on something else, something the aliens didn't possess: creativity, adaptability, and sheer determination done in the days following the initial skirmish. Quinn worked tirelessly to devise a plan that could level the playing field. She gathered her top strategists, engineers, and scientists in the UHC command center. Together, they pored over data collected from the first battles, analyzing every move the aliens made. What they discovered gave them a glimmer of hope. The Zyrans, as powerful as they were, operated like machines. Their attacks followed strict patterns, dictated by algorithms and synchronized through a central network. They lacked the unpredictability and flexibility that came naturally to humans. This rigidity, Quinn realized, was their greatest weakness and humanity's best chance at survival. Quinn called a meeting with the leaders of the Unified Human Coalition. The room buzzed with tension as representatives from every corner of the globe sat around a large table. Screens displayed maps of Earth, orbital paths, and simulations of potential battle scenarios. Quinn stood at the head of the room, her green eyes scanning the faces of those present. "We can't fight them head on," she began, her voice calm but commanding. "They outnumber us, outgun us, and outclass us in almost every way. But we have one advantage: they're predictable." She pointed to a simulation showing the alien fleet's movements during the previous battle. "Look at this. Their formations are precise, almost mechanical. They don't adapt quickly to unexpected situations. If we hit them where they least expected, if we disrupt their coordination, we can turn their own strength against them." The room fell silent as everyone absorbed her words. Finally, a representative from Europe spoke up. "What do you propose, Captain?" Quinn outlined her strategy. It was bold, risky, and unconventional, but it was all they had. The plan had three key components. First, decentralized resistance. Instead of concentrating humanity's forces around major cities or strategic locations, Quinn proposed spreading out across Earth's orbit and surface. Smaller strike teams would operate independently, striking at the enemy from multiple angles. This would make it harder for the aliens to focus their attacks and overwhelm any single target. Second, guerrilla tactics. Rather than engaging in prolonged battles, human forces would rely on hit-and-run attacks, ambush, and sabotage missions. Speed and surprise would be their greatest assets. Ships would dart in and out of combat zones, inflicting damage before retreating to safety. Ground forces would use the terrain to their advantage, hiding among ruins and forests to launch sudden assaults. Third, psychological warfare. Quinn planned to exploit the aliens' arrogance. By broadcasting false information about reinforcements from distant colonies, humanity could create the illusion of greater strength. Fake signals, dummy ships, and staged counterattacks would convince the invaders that humanity was far more formidable than it appeared. The plan was met with mixed reactions. Some praised its ingenuity, while others questioned its feasibility. But Quinn's confidence was unshakable. "We don't have the luxury of doubt," she said firmly. "This is our only shot. If we stick together, stay smart, and keep moving, we can win." With the coalition's approval, preparations began in earnest. Factories worked around the clock to produce weapons, ammunition, and supplies. Civilian ships were converted into makeshift warships, armed with whatever materials could be scavenged. Volunteers poured in from all walks of life, young and old, trained and untrained, all eager to contribute to the fight. Meanwhile, Quinn focused on training her forces. Pilots practiced evasive maneuvers, ground troops drilled in urban combat, and hackers worked to disrupt the aliens' communications. Every second counted, and Quinn pushed everyone to their limits. Sleep became a luxury few could afford, and stress weighed heavily on even the strongest shoulders. But despite the exhaustion, morale remained high. People believed in Quinn's vision, and they clung to the hope that their efforts might turn the tide. As humanity prepared for war, General Vorthax grew increasingly frustrated. He had expected Earth to surrender without a fight, bowing to the might of his million-strong army. Instead, the humans resisted fiercely, launching unpredictable attacks and refusing to back down. Their defiance infuriated him. Vorthax dispatched scouts to gather intelligence on Earth's defenses. What they found baffled him. Entire regions appeared undefended, while others bristled with activity. Human forces seemed scattered and disorganized, yet they managed to inflict significant damage whenever they struck. Confused but confident in his superiority, Vorthax decided to divide his fleet. He ordered smaller contingents to attack multiple targets simultaneously, aiming to stretch humanity's resources thin and crush their resistance once and for all. Unbeknownst to him, this decision played perfectly into Quinn's hands. The first major test of Quinn's strategy came near Jupiter's moon Europa. A small human outpost there served as bait, luring a detachment of alien ships into a trap. When the invaders arrived, they were met with fierce resistance, not just from military vessels, but from retrofitted mining ships and civilian freighters armed with improvised weapons. The battle erupted into chaos, with human pilots weaving between the lumbering alien craft, firing wildly and dodging retaliatory blasts. The aliens struggled to adapt to the chaotic tactics. Their rigid formations faltered as they tried to track the erratic movements of their opponents. Explosions lit up the void of space as human ships darted in and out of range, striking vital systems and disabling key vessels. Dozens of alien ships were destroyed before they could regroup and retreat. Back on Earth, similar scenes unfolded. Guerrilla units launched surprise attacks on alien landing parties, using speed and stealth to overpower larger forces. Civilians joined the fight, setting traps and sabotaging equipment. In one instance, a group of teenagers armed with crude explosives managed to disable an alien walker, earning cheers from nearby defenders. Despite these successes, the cost was high. Cities burned, forests smoldered, and countless lives were lost. Refugees streamed into overcrowded shelters, desperate for food and medical care. The strain on humanity's resources was immense, and cracks began to show. Supplies dwindled, fatigue set in, and doubts crept into the minds of some leaders. At a council meeting, voices rose in heated debate. One politician argued that continuing the fight was futile, that surrender was the only way to save what remained of humanity. Others insisted that giving up meant extinction, that the aliens would show no mercy. Tensions flared until Quinn stepped forward, silencing the room with a single raised hand. "We've come too far to give up now," she said, her voice steady and resolute. "Every sacrifice we make brings us closer to victory. Yes, the road is hard, and yes, the losses are unbearable. But if we stop fighting, everything we've done will be for nothing. We owe it to those who've fallen to keep going, to prove that humanity isn't defined by its weaknesses, but by its strength." Her words reignited the fire in everyone's hearts. Leaders nodded in agreement, and plans moved forward with renewed determination. Quinn took to the airwaves once again, addressing the entire planet. Standing before a backdrop of Earth's spinning globe, she spoke directly to the people. "To my fellow humans," she began, her voice filled with conviction. "We've faced impossible odds before, and we've risen above them. Today, we face an enemy unlike any other. But let me remind you of something. They may have 1,000,000 soldiers, but we have something greater, our will to survive." She paused, letting her words sink in. "They think they can break us. They think they can take our home. But they're wrong, because every man, woman, and child on this planet is united in one purpose: to protect what's ours, to fight for our future, and to show the universe that humanity doesn't back down." The broadcast ended with thunderous applause. Across the globe, People rallied behind Quinn's message. Factories worked faster, volunteers fought harder, and families prayed for victory. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival. It was fighting for its identity. As the days passed, the alien fleet drew nearer to Earth. General Vorthax watched the resistance with growing impatience. His scouts reported that human forces were scattered and disorganized, yet they continued to mount effective attacks. It didn't make sense. How could such a primitive species pose such a challenge? Unaware of Quinn's decentralized strategy, Vorthax dismissed the humans as reckless and chaotic. He saw their guerrilla tactics as signs of desperation, not cunning. He underestimated them, and that was his mistake. On the eve of the next major battle, Quinn stood on the bridge of the eclipse, staring out at the stars. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on her shoulders, but she refused to falter. Humanity's fate rested in her hands, and she would not let them down. "Captain," a young officer said hesitantly, breaking the silence. "Do you really think we can win?" The alien fleet advanced steadily, its ships moving like a dark storm across the void of space. Earth's skies burned with the glow of their engines as they drew closer to humanity's last line of defense. The air was thick with tension, and every heartbeat on the planet seemed to echo the same question. Could humanity hold on? Or would this be the end? Captain Elara Quinn stood at the center of it all, her presence calm but commanding. On the bridge of the eclipse, she oversaw the final preparations for what promised to be the most brutal battle yet. Around her, officers worked tirelessly, their faces pale but determined. Screens displayed maps, troop movements, and real-time updates from the front lines. Every piece of information mattered now. Every decision could mean life or death. Quinn had spent days refining her strategy, drilling her forces until they could execute it flawlessly. Decentralized resistance, guerrilla tactics, and psychological warfare. These were the pillars of humanity's fight. But even the best plans required courage to succeed. And Quinn knew that courage wouldn't come easily when facing an enemy as overwhelming as the XYRANs. As the alien forces approached, Quinn gave the order to deploy. Ships launched from hidden bases, slipping silently into position. Ground units took cover in ruins, forests, and mountains, ready to ambush any invaders who dared set foot on Earth. Civilians armed with makeshift weapons prepared to defend their homes. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival. It was fighting for its soul. The first major engagement erupted near Jupiter's moon Europa. A small human outpost there served as bait, luring a detachment of alien ships into a trap. When the invaders arrived, they found themselves surrounded by a swarm of retrofitted mining vessels and civilian freighters. These ships weren't sleek or powerful, but they were fast and unpredictable. Their pilots darted between the lumbering alien craft, firing wildly and dodging retaliatory blasts. The aliens struggled to adapt. Their rigid formations faltered as they tried to track the erratic movements of their opponents. Explosions lit up the void of space as human ships struck vital systems and disabled key vessels. Dozens of alien ships were destroyed before they could regroup and retreat. Back on Earth, similar scenes unfolded. Guerrilla units launched surprise attacks on alien landing parties, using speed and stealth to overpower larger forces. Civilians joined the fight, setting traps and sabotaging equipment. In one instance, a group of teenagers armed with crude explosives managed to disable an alien walker, earning cheers from nearby defenders. Despite these successes, the cost was high. Cities burned, forests smoldered, and countless lives were lost. Refugees streamed into overcrowded shelters, desperate for food and medical care. The strain on humanity's resources was immense, and cracks began to show. Supplies dwindled, fatigue set in, and doubts crept into the minds of some leaders. At a council meeting, voices rose in heated debate. One politician argued that continuing the fight was futile, that surrender was the only way to save what remained of humanity. Others insisted that giving up meant extinction, that the aliens would show no mercy. Tensions flared until Quinn stepped forward, silencing the room with a single raised hand. "We've come too far to give up now," she said, her voice steady and resolute. "Every sacrifice we make brings us closer to victory. Yes, the road is hard, and yes, the losses are unbearable. But if we stop fighting, everything we've done will be for nothing. We owe it to those who've fallen to keep going, to prove that humanity isn't defined by its weaknesses, but by its strength." Her words reignited the fire in everyone's hearts. Leaders nodded in agreement, and plans moved forward with renewed determination. Quinn took to the airwaves once again, addressing the entire planet. Standing before a backdrop of Earth's spinning globe, she spoke directly to the people. "To my fellow humans," she began, her voice filled with conviction. "We've faced impossible odds before, and we've risen above them. Today, we face an enemy unlike any other. But let me remind you of something. They may have 1,000,000 soldiers, but we have something greater, our will to survive." She paused, letting her words sink in. "They think they can break us. They think they can take our home. But they're wrong, because every man, woman, and child on this planet is united in one purpose: to protect what's ours, to fight for our future, and to show the universe that humanity doesn't back down." The broadcast ended with thunderous applause. Across the globe, people rallied behind Quinn's message. Factories worked faster, volunteers fought harder, and families prayed for victory. Humanity wasn't just fighting for survival. It was fighting for its identity. As the days passed, the alien fleet drew nearer to Earth. General Vorthax watched the resistance with growing impatience. His scouts reported that human forces were scattered and disorganized, yet they continued to mount effective attacks. It didn't make sense. How could such primitive species pose such a challenge? Unaware of Quinn's decentralized strategy, Vorthax dismissed the humans as reckless and chaotic. He saw their guerrilla tactics as signs of desperation, not cunning. He underestimated them, and that was his mistake. On the eve of the next major battle, Quinn stood on the bridge of the eclipse, staring out at the stars. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on her shoulders, but she refused to falter. Humanity's fate rested in her hands, and she would not let them down. "Captain," a young officer said hesitantly, breaking the silence. "Do you really think we can win?" Quinn turned to face him, a faint smile playing on her lips. "Winning isn't about certainty," she replied. "It's about believing in the possibility. As long as we keep fighting, as long as we refuse to give up, there's always hope." With that, she returned her gaze to the stars. The alien fleet loomed closer, undeterred by the losses they had suffered. But Quinn knew one thing for certain: humanity wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. The next morning, the skies above Earth turned black as the alien fleet descended. Thousands of ships filled the atmosphere, blotting out the sun. Laser beams rained down, incinerating cities and reducing landscapes to ash. The ground shook with the impact of massive walkers, towering machines that crushed everything in their path. It was chaos, pure and unrelenting, but humanity fought back. From hidden bunkers, guerrilla units launched rockets and missiles, targeting the walkers' weak points. Pilots in retrofitted ships streaked through the sky, weaving between the alien vessels and striking wherever they could. Civilians armed with rifles and homemade explosives ambushed ground troops, slowing their advance. One particularly fierce battle took place in the ruins of Paris. The city was already in shambles, its iconic landmarks reduced to rubble. But amidst the destruction, a small band of fighters held their ground. Led by a grizzled veteran named Marcus Kane, they used the crumbling buildings to their advantage, setting traps and launching hit-and-run attacks. For hours, They harassed the alien forces, inflicting heavy casualties before retreating into the underground tunnels. Kane's unit wasn't alone. Across the globe, similar stories played out. In New York, a group of engineers rigged skyscrapers to collapse onto advancing walkers. In Tokyo, hackers infiltrated the aliens' communication systems, causing temporary disruptions in their coordination. Even in remote villages, ordinary people found ways to resist, using whatever tools they had to fight back. General Vorthax watched the reports with mounting frustration. His forces were suffering losses they hadn't anticipated. Entire battalions were wiped out, critical systems disabled, and morale among his troops began to waver. For the first time, doubt crept into his mind. Could these humans truly pose a threat? Or was this just a temporary setback? Vorthax decided to escalate his efforts. He ordered a full-scale assault on Earth's remaining strongholds, aiming to crush humanity's resistance once and for all. Massive ships descended upon key locations, unleashing devastating barrages of energy weapons. Ground forces swept through cities, leaving nothing but scorched earth in their wake. But even as the aliens pushed harder, humanity pushed back. Quinn coordinated global efforts, rallying her forces to strike where the enemy least expected it. Using decoys and false signals, she lured alien ships into traps, destroying dozens at a time. Her decentralized strategy proved its worth, keeping the invaders off balance and preventing them from focusing their attacks in one daring operation. Quinn led a squadron of elite pilots on a suicide mission deep into enemy territory. Their target was a massive alien command ship, responsible for coordinating much of the fleet's movements. Against all odds, they breached its defenses, planting explosives that tore the vessel apart. The explosion sent shockwaves through the alien ranks, forcing them to retreat temporarily. Victory came at a cost. Many of Quinn's pilots didn't return, and the loss weighed heavily on her heart. But she knew their sacrifice had bought humanity precious time. With each passing day, Earth's defenders grew stronger, more organized, and more determined. As the battle raged on, Quinn found herself reflecting on the nature of war. She thought about the millions who had already died, the countless families torn apart, and the scars that would never heal. Yet, despite the pain, she felt a flicker of hope. Humanity had faced unimaginable horrors before and emerged stronger. This time would be no different. The war had reached a breaking point. Humanity was battered, bruised, and on the verge of collapse. Cities lay in ruins, their streets deserted, and their buildings reduced to rubble. Refugees wandered aimlessly, searching for safety that no longer existed. The skies above Earth were darkened by the endless swarm of alien ships, their engines roaring like thunder as they unleashed wave after wave of destruction. General Vorthax's promise of annihilation seemed closer than ever to becoming reality. Yet amidst the chaos, Captain Alara Quinn refused to give up. Her green eyes burned with determination as she studied maps and data feeds on the bridge of the eclipse. Every loss hurt, every life lost weighed heavily on her soul, but she knew that surrender wasn't an option. If humanity fell, it wouldn't be because they stopped fighting. It would be because there was no one left standing. Quinn's greatest challenge now was finding a way to strike at the heart of the alien forces. Their numbers were overwhelming, their technology unmatched, and their coordination nearly flawless. But even machines have weaknesses, and Quinn was determined to find theirs. She turned to her team of scientists and engineers, demanding answers. "We need something," she said firmly during a strategy meeting. "Something we can use against them. A crack in their armor? Anything." Her words hung in the air as the room fell silent. Then, a young scientist named Dr. Elena Ruiz spoke up. "Captain, I think I found something," she said hesitantly. "It's not much, but it might be enough." Ruiz explained her discovery. After analyzing intercepted alien transmissions, she uncovered evidence of a central hive mind network controlling the entire fleet. This network allowed the Xyrans to synchronize their movements and coordinate attacks with precision. Without it, their forces would descend into disarray, unable to function effectively. The problem is, Ruiz continued, the hive mind core is located deep inside General Vorthax's flagship, the largest vessel in their fleet. Getting to it won't be easy. Quinn leaned forward, her expression sharp. How do you disable it? A virus, Ruiz replied. We can create a program to corrupt the system, but someone has to plant it directly into the core. That means infiltrating the flagship itself. The room erupted in murmurs. The mission sounded suicidal. The flagship was the most heavily guarded ship in the alien fleet, surrounded by layers of defenses and swarms of drones. Breaking through would require skill, luck, and sacrifice. Quinn didn't hesitate. I'll lead the mission, she declared. No, several voices protested at once. Officers and advisors argued that losing Quinn would devastate morale and cripple humanity's efforts. But Quinn silenced them with a raised hand. This isn't up for debate, she said firmly. If anyone should take this risk, it's me. Besides, I'm the best person for the job. Reluctantly, her team agreed. Over the next few days, they prepared for what they called Operation Blackout. Quinn assembled a small team of elite operatives, each chosen for their unique skills. There was Marcus Kane, the grizzled veteran who had fought in Paris. Tariq Malik, a hacker genius capable of bypassing any security system. Mei Lin, a stealth expert trained in covert operations. And Aaron Solis, a defector from the alien ranks who provided crucial intel about their technology. Together, they formed an unlikely band of heroes, united by a single goal: to bring down the hive mind and cripple the alien forces. Their plan was risky but straightforward. Using a stolen alien shuttle, they would sneak aboard the flagship under the guise of prisoners. Once inside, they would split up, disabling key systems while Quinn made her way to the hive mind core. Timing was critical. They had only minutes before the aliens realized what was happening. The night before the mission, Quinn stood alone on the observation deck of the Eclipse, staring out at the stars. Her mind raced with thoughts of what lay ahead. She thought about the people counting on her, the lives depending on her success. She thought about the sacrifices already made, and the ones yet to come. And she thought about Eartha fragile. Blue world hanging in the vastness of space, worth every ounce of effort to protect. Captain? A voice interrupted her thoughts. It was Marcus Kane, his weathered face lined with worry. You should get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be, well, you know. Quinn smiled faintly. I'll rest when it's over, Marcus. Not before. Kane nodded, understanding. He hesitated for a moment, then added, just don't do anything stupid out there. We need you. I'll try, Quinn replied. But if things go south, promise me you'll keep fighting. No matter what happens, humanity doesn't stop. Kane gave her a solemn nod before leaving. Quinn returned her gaze to the stars, steeling herself for the battle to come. The mission began at dawn. The team boarded the stolen shuttle, its hull painted in alien markings to blend in with the fleet. As they approached the flagship, tension filled the cramped cabin. Everyone knew the odds were against them, but none showed fear. They trusted Quinn, and they believed in the cause. Remember, Quinn said as they neared the massive vessel, stick to the plan. Stay sharp, stay quiet, and don't let them see us coming. The shuttle docked without incident, thanks to Aaron Solis' knowledge of alien protocols. Disguised as prisoners, the team disembarked and was quickly escorted deeper into the ship. Guards marched them through dimly lit corridors, their weapons trained on the group. The air was cold and metallic, tinged with the faint hum of machinery as planned. The team split up once they reached the junction. Malin slipped away silently, disappearing into the shadows. Tariq Malik and Marcus Kane followed another route, tasked with disabling power relays and creating diversions. Quinn and Aaron Solis continued toward the hive mind core, their footsteps echoing ominously in the empty halls. The journey was fraught with peril. Patrols roamed the corridors, forcing the pair to duck into alcoves or crawl through maintenance tunnels to avoid detection. At one point, they encountered a locked door guarded by 2 sentries. Tariq's hacking skills came in handy as he remotely disabled the lock, allowing them to slip past unnoticed. Finally, they reached the core chamber. The room was enormous, filled with pulsating cables and glowing panels that radiated an eerie light. In the center stood the hive mind core, a massive sphere encased in translucent material, throbbing with energy. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once. "This is it," Quinn whispered. "Let's finish this." Tariq pulled out a small device and connected it to the core. Lines of code scrolled across his screen as the virus began uploading. "It'll take a few minutes," he said, his voice tense. "We need to hold them off until then." Almost immediately, alarms blared throughout the ship. Reinforcements poured into the chamber, surrounding Quinn and Aaron. Weapons fired, filling the air with flashes of light and deafening blasts. Quinn moved with precision, taking down enemies with calculated shots. Aaron fought alongside her, his familiarity with alien weapons giving him an edge. Despite their efforts, the numbers were overwhelming. Just as hope began to fade, explosions rocked the ship. Malin and Marcus Kane had succeeded in their diversion, drawing enemy forces away from the core. The distraction gave Quinn and Aaron the opening they needed to fend off the remaining guards. Finally, Tariq shouted, "It's done. The virus is uploaded." The core shuddered violently, its glow flickering as the virus spread through the system. Alarms screamed louder, and the ship shook as if caught in a storm. The hive mind was collapsing, and with it, the alien forces' coordination. But their victory came at a cost. As the team regrouped, preparing to escape, General Vorthax appeared. His obsidian armor gleamed menacingly, and his red eyes burned with fury. He had anticipated their plan and arrived to confront them personally. "You humans are more resourceful than I expected," he growled, raising his weapon. "But your rebellion ends here." Quinn stepped forward, her own weapon drawn. "Not today," she said, her voice steady. "Today, you learn what happens when you underestimate us." The two clashed in a fierce duel, their movements swift and deadly. Vorthax was powerful, his strikes brutal, but Quinn matched him with agility and cunning. Sparks flew as their weapons collided, the sound echoing through the crumbling chamber. In the end, it was Quinn's resilience that won the day. With a final decisive blow, she disabled Vorthax's weapon, leaving him vulnerable. Before he could recover, the core exploded behind him, engulfing the room in a blinding flash of light. When the dust settled, the flagship was in ruins, its systems offline. The hive mind was destroyed, and the alien fleet descended into chaos. Ships drifted aimlessly, their crews unable to communicate or coordinate. Humanity had struck a devastating blow. Back on Earth, the news spread quickly. Cheers erupted as people celebrated the turning of the tide. Though the war wasn't over, hope had been reignited. Captain Alara Quinn's name became legend, a symbol of defiance and courage. Standing amidst the wreckage of the flagship, Quinn looked out at the stars. The road ahead would still be long and difficult, but for the first time in weeks, she allowed herself a moment of relief. Humanity had proven that it could stand against even the greatest odds, and as long as they kept fighting, they would never fall. The destruction of the hive mind core marked a turning point in humanity's war against desire and dominion. Without their central network, the alien fleet descended into chaos. Ships drifted aimlessly in orbit, colliding with each other or plummeting toward Earth like falling stars. Ground forces, once coordinated and relentless, became disorganized and confused. The invaders' overwhelming strength crumbled into disorder, giving humanity its first real chance to breathe. But victory came at a heavy price. The flagship's explosion had claimed countless lives, both human and alien, including many members of Captain L.R. Quinn's team. Mei Lin and Marcus Kane were among the fallen, their sacrifices ensuring the success of Operation Blackout. Tariq Malik barely escaped with his life, his body battered but alive. And though Aaron Solis survived, he was gravely injured. His loyalty to humanity tested by the horrors he had witnessed. Quinn herself bore deep scars, not just physical ones, but emotional wounds that would take time to heal. She stood on the bridge of the eclipse, watching as the remnants of the alien fleet retreated beyond Earth's atmosphere. Her green eyes reflected a mix of relief and sorrow. Humanity had won this battle, but the cost weighed heavily on her heart. "They're leaving," an officer reported, his voice trembling with disbelief. "The remaining ships are pulling back." Quinn nodded slowly. "They've lost their coordination. Without the hive mind, they're nothing more than machines without a purpose. But don't mistake this for surrender. They'll regroup eventually, and when they do, we need to be ready." Her words silenced any premature celebrations. While the immediate threat had passed, everyone knew the war wasn't truly over. General Vorthax's defeat was a significant blow to the Zyrans, but they were far from defeated. Humanity had bought itself some time, a precious window to rebuild and prepare for whatever came next. In the days that followed, Earth began the long process of recovery. Cities lay in ruins, their streets littered with debris and ash. Refugees wandered through what remained of urban centers, searching for food, shelter, and loved ones. Hospitals overflowed with the wounded, and makeshift morgues struggled to keep up with the dead. The scale of devastation was staggering, but amidst the rubble, signs of resilience emerged. Volunteers worked tirelessly to clear roads, distribute supplies, and care for survivors. Engineers repaired damaged infrastructure, while scientists studied captured alien technology, unlocking secrets that could propel humanity centuries ahead in terms of scientific advancement. Factories reopened, producing new weapons, ships, and tools designed to defend against future threats. Slowly but surely, Earth began to rise again. Quinn played a crucial role in these efforts. Though physically exhausted, she refused to rest. She traveled across the globe, visiting survivors and rallying them to continue rebuilding. In speeches broadcast worldwide, she reminded people of their strength and unity. "We faced the worst they could throw at us," she said during one address. "And we didn't break. We fought back. We showed them that humanity isn't defined by our weaknesses, but by our will to survive. Now, it's time to prove that we can build something better, a future worth fighting for." Her words inspired millions. People who had lost everything found hope in her vision. Families worked together to construct temporary shelters. Farmers planted crops in fields scorched by alien attacks. Artists painted murals on crumbling walls, depicting scenes of heroism and resilience. Humanity wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. Even in the face of unimaginable loss. As Earth healed, attention turned to the aliens' abandoned technology. Scientists pored over wreckage from downed ships, analyzing every piece of machinery they could salvage. What they discovered was astonishing. Alien energy sources were far more efficient than anything humanity had developed. Their propulsion systems allowed for faster-than-light travel, opening up possibilities for interstellar exploration. Even their medical devices offered breakthroughs in healing injuries and curing diseases. With this newfound knowledge, humanity leapfrogged decades of technological progress. Engineers built advanced spacecraft capable of reaching distant stars. Researchers developed AI systems modeled after the aliens' hive mind, though without its rigid control mechanisms. These innovations not only strengthened Earth's defenses but also laid the foundation for a new era of discovery. But Quinn understood that technology alone wouldn't ensure humanity's survival. True strength came from unity and cooperation. To prevent another catastrophic conflict, she advocated for diplomacy. "We can't isolate ourselves," she told world leaders. "The galaxy is vast, and we're not the only ones out there. If we want to avoid wars like this in the future, we need to reach out, to learn, to share, and to coexist." Her vision led to the formation of the Interstellar Alliance, a coalition of human colonies and newly contacted alien species. Diplomatic envoys reached out to civilizations across the stars, forging alliances based on mutual respect and understanding. Trade routes opened, cultural exchanges flourished, and humanity took its first steps toward becoming part of a larger galactic community. Despite these advances, Quinn never forgot the lessons of the war. She often returned to the observation deck of the eclipse, gazing at the stars and reflecting on all that had been lost and gained. The scars of battle would always remain, both on Earth and within her own soul. But she found solace in knowing that humanity had risen above despair, proving itself capable of greatness. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow across the sky, Quinn stood beside Tariq Malik. The young hacker had recovered enough to rejoin her crew, though his injuries still slowed him down. Together, they watched as a newly constructed starship launched into orbit, its sleek design a testament to humanity's ingenuity. "You think we're ready?" Tariq asked, his voice tinged with uncertainty. Quinn smiled faintly. "No one's ever truly ready for what's out there. But we'll adapt, just like we always have. That's what makes us human." Tariq nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Do you think we'll see them again?" "The Zarans?" "Probably," Quinn admitted. "But if they come back, they'll find a different Earth, one that's stronger, smarter, and united. And if they try to take our home again—" She paused, her tone hardening. "They'll regret it." For a moment, neither spoke. The silence was peaceful, broken only by the distant hum of engines and the rustle of wind. Then, Tariq broke into a grin. "You know, Captain, sometimes I wonder how you manage to stay so calm. After everything you've been through, I mean." Quinn chuckled softly. "It's not about staying calm. It's about remembering why we fight. For every life lost, for every city destroyed, there's a reason to keep going. Hope, Tariq. That's what keeps me moving." As the two returned to the bridge, the ship vibrated gently beneath their feet. Ahead of them stretched the endless expanse of space, filled with mysteries waiting to be uncovered. Humanity's journey was far from over, and challenges undoubtedly lay ahead. But for the first time in years, the future felt bright. Captain Elara Quinn took her seat at the helm, her gaze fixed on the stars. Behind her, the crew worked diligently, their movements confident and purposeful. Together, they represented a new chapter in humanity's story, one of courage, resilience, and boundless potential. And so, humanity stepped boldly into the cosmos, carrying with it the memory of those who had fought and fallen. The legend of Captain Elara Quinn lived on, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, determination and unity could light the way forward. The galaxy awaited, and humanity was ready.